Hey, so I decided to do my research project about the evolution of animation in Japanese anime. Why? I don't know. They just said I could do whatever. Just kidding, I did it because I wanted to. You don't need to know. What are you, a cop?
Oh my god, I'm already getting off track.
When I heard back this recording for the first time, I realised, hey, there's a big echo in this room. Am I going to fix it? Absolutely not. There is no way I'm going to put more time into fixing this. There was a hesitation there. That is because I'm not good at talking fast, and yet my entire bit is just me talking fast. So it all starts in early 1917 or late 1916. It's not super clear. The first anime film was made during this time, and it's only 5 minutes long and made with chalk on flammable film that definitely wasn't so fragile and flammable that it removed a good part of television history from a fire. Not at all. Did you know that the blue part of fire is the hottest part? People love to say that the blue part's the coldest, but I tested and it's definitely still hot.
I'm not easily distracted. You're easily distracted.
Anyway, films made during this time were silent. They didn't have that kind of technology yet. They usually showed films with live narration and music. While these films are probably older than you, they still featured similar themes to anime today, like samurai stories and Japanese folk tales. The first Japanese animation studio ever was founded by Satoru Kitayama in 1921, but it didn't stick around for too long because an earthquake destroyed its building after 2 years.
Okay, that's enough of the talking fast bit. I can't keep doing this. It's taking too many takes.
You know, a big part of Japanese animation history lies in war, because as Japan geared up for World War II, animators were looking for ways to make money, and the government was conveniently looking for propaganda makers, so they turned to making propaganda and the government paid them. This was a good period for improvement though. Animators figured out how to put pre-recorded voices behind the animations, and the first feature-length film was produced. They started using cells more often and all that jazz. That first film, though, was a piece of propaganda with an underlying message of hope for peace that brought a particular aspiring artist to tears. This man was Osamu Tezuka. Keep an eye out for his name, it'll definitely come up again. Anywho, in 1948, Toei Studios was founded. Our first familiar studio, although it wasn't always an animation studio, bought Japan Animated Films in 1956 and made its first film in 1958, which was Hakujaden, which was the first feature-length film made with colour. Remember Osamu Tezuka? You should. I only mentioned him, 21 seconds ago? Anyway, he's a popular manga artist by the 1950s, so much so that his manga Son Goku the Monkey King got picked up by Toei. Unfortunately for Toei, Tezuka left as soon as his contract with them ended and took some of their best animators with him to make a new studio called Mushi Productions. If you didn't have your very own home theatre, it was practically impossible to get films on demand. But in 1958, that all changed with the invention of the TV. So anime became more readily available to watch. Don't get me wrong though, I'm sure it was still pretty hard to watch if you didn't know where to look, but it was better than hoping that your local theatre was showing Astro Boy Episode 3 Season 2 with English subtitles. Speaking of Astro Boy, it was the first anime to air on TV. There were many hesitations to do it though, because there'd have to be a lot of preparations made to air the full episodes. Many even doubted that it'd be successful, but it was, and now we're in 2021, stuck with whatever the hell this is. But airing Astro Boy wasn't a bad thing at all. It brought more light to anime, and it probably wouldn't be the same today if it hadn't happened. Did you know that quite a few of the modern day anime style tropes can be traced back to Astro Boy? Well, now you do, I guess. Large eyes, big dramatic hair, giant robots, the whole shebang. Anyway, enough about Astro Boy and more about its creator. Osamu Tezuka used something called limited animation, which meant that he used a bunch of different techniques to streamline the production of anime episodes. He did things like reducing the amount of frames he used per second, reusing cells, and putting defining character details, such as hair, belts, bows, and all that, on pieces that could just stay static for quite a while. He also saved time by using his original manga as a storyboard, which props to him for being able to do that. That must have been hard. Another thing Tezuka's studio made was the first magical girl anime, which also invented the shoujo genre. Then Tezuka left Mushi Productions to found Tezuka's Productions, so Mushi shut down because it didn't have its founder or much money to keep going. Many of the animators from Mushi Productions went over to create their own studios, which brought up some familiar names like Madhouse and Sunrise, which were both founded in the same year, 1972. Anime grew a whole heap during the 70s, especially the sci-fi genre. Sunrise ended up producing the first Gundam, which wasn't well received at first until Bonsai bought the rights to produce merchandise, and now there's...
What the fuck?
So clearly Gundam became a hit after the merchandise was released. And now we skip to the 80s, where shows like Urusei Yusatsura, Dragon Ball... Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, Akira, and many more were created, along with the BL genre being created.
Please don't make me say it. Please don't make me explain it. Please, for the love of God.
The 80s also saw the birth of the OVA style of anime, which is a shorter style of orientating anime. An OVA was usually about 24 minutes long and developed the sci-fi style exponentially during its birth.
Okay, so my notes say comedic transition or something. Improvise. But I can't improvise. So take this as your comedic transition, I guess. Haha, funny laugh.
Now onto the 90s. Japan's economy crashed, but it didn't stop some of the most recognisable shows being made, such as Sailor Moon, Kiki's Delivery Service, Neon Genesis Evangelion, Cowboy Bebop, Serial Experiments Lain, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, Detective Conan, and so many more. According to my sources, there wasn't much evolution during the 90s, so I don't know what to tell you, man. Moving on to the early 2000s, the use of CGI in digitizing most of the animation process was being used more and more in studios. Hell, even the first fully CGI anime movie was made, which was... I'm sorry, I'm going off script for a second. Look at what's on screen right now. I'll edit something in. Look at what's on screen. That's nightmare fuel. That is horrific. Anyway, the last animation studio to make the switch to digital was Studio Izukin and their show Saisi-san in 2013. But let's move back a little. The early 2000s saw the birth of shows like Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, Death Note, Gurren Lagann, Ouran High School Host Club, both Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Toradora, and many more. The first three of that list are sometimes considered the big three of its era. This era also saw the first anime film to win an Oscar. This was Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away. Speaking of Studio Ghibli, their films Spirited Away, obviously, The Cat Returns, Howl's Moving Castle, Tales from Earthsea, Ponyo, Arete, all came out during the early 2000s. The early 2000s also saw the birth of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is arguably not an anime, but still noteworthy, with its animation style being inspired by anime and it being such a big hit. Now, you're probably not wondering when anime streaming services came into this. Well, when Studio Gonzo was suffering from financial issues, they started aggressively appealing to the Western market. This created Crunchyroll, which has a big emphasis on simulcasts that let Western audiences watch new anime episodes with English subtitles the day they come out in Japan.
Oh my god, my research project was just an elaborate ad for Crunchyroll and they haven't even sponsored me.